We're glad you're watching our video. Give it a like and subscribe to this channel.
You know that 50% of you aren't subscribed? Do that now. Also, check out our podcast below in the description.
We are sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Yes, we are. #1 vodka in America. Okay, I've thought long and hard about this, and I thought long and hard about this for a long period of time. And I think the separating factor for great young quarterbacks, and I'd argue great young players, now some players might not fall into this category that you would quote-unquote consider great, but I think the Giants' core guys, and definitely Crawford and Posey fall under this. A huge separating factor when you have special talent is like the talent can take you so far. Coaches talk about this a lot, and this translates into every walk of life. I mean, people that give like TED Talks will tell you talent is the most overrated thing, right? It's the way you're wired, and it's something in football that the scouting department operates. People think like obviously you spend a lot of time evaluating the skill sets, but like I could show you a breakdown of like arm strength now that they quantify it. If I rank it with other guys, you can be like, well, that guy's got a strong arm because if he has a strong, like 1 mile an hour slower than Josh Allen and 10 miles an hour faster than Deshaun Watson, you'd be like, well, that's a powerful arm. Well, he's 6'4". Well, he runs a 4.5. Like you can quantify a lot of physical attributes, but the thing you cannot quantify is the intangible stuff. And knowing the guys with the Chiefs really well, and we've talked about this before, is the character stuff on Mahomes is just stupid good. I mean, it's incredible. And knowing Sean McDermott, not that I talked to him that much, but I was around him for a year. Then we rekindled at the Combine a couple years ago, and I text on and off. But I'll never forget his personality. And I think you kind of see it on the sideline. Like, he's a really serious guy. Like, he's very, if I had to do a coach comp, I'd do like a Brad Stevens. Like, I think he's more human with his individual players, but just around the media and stuff, he's a super high character, super smart, but he's not a fluff guy. He's not a BS guy. He really values character. He loves Josh Allen. Loves him. Lamar Jackson, we both know a guy who works now for the Ravens. He has tried to describe to me over text messages in his time now coaching, like being on the sideline with him. It's one thing, training camp, and start playing games. He is floored, and he trains NFL players. The character and the person that Lamar Jackson is. And obviously, he went in thinking, like, this guy's awesome, and the player's awesome once you watch him play around. But the person, he does not hammer home. Like, that's all he talks about is, like, this guy. He's blown away by this guy. And Herbert, we all know, right? His character. The character of the core four is what I'm going to call these guys. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Allen. And really, Mahomes, I saw you put up a comment earlier that, like, I don't know if you read it, but one of the comments was, Herbert got shit on his rookie season. No, actually he didn't. He universally it was accepted he had the greatest rookie season like the history of the league. Statistically, he definitely did. And I would say he was universally kind of praised. Rightfully so.
From the second he started. From the first game.
Oh, my God. Where Josh was clearly the biggest project of the group, Lamar, unlike Josh, had immediate success, but was nitpicked. All of them. I mean, when I think Lamar Jackson, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is nobody cares, work harder. His attitude in that franchise changed. Obviously, his talent and his play did. But, like, what he just did on Monday night, 37 of 43 for 450 yards, Harbaugh giving him game balls.
Greatest completion percentage in the history of the league with at least 40 attempts.
You only do that by, when I say elite character, that also means like your love of football, your desire, and your drive is just off the charts. His desire to improve for the last 3 or 4 years is, because I was someone who, honestly, the two quarterbacks I didn't like in that draft, I was like, I loved Darnold, loved Josh Rosen. I was like, I do not like Josh Allen, and I definitely don't like Lamar Jackson. Those two guys are on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And Lamar, to me, went from like a guy, running quarterback to now it's like, well, he's going 37 to 43. He's killing you with his arm. And his running ability he's basically like the buttoned-up Michael Vick.
Well, like he's become one of the most exciting passers in the league.
Right. I think he's immediately become one of the most remarkable watches in league history. Because Michael Vick was like that immediately, but he was like, he had some flaws. He wasn't that accurate. Like this guy, it's just mind-blowing. It really is. Mahomes is the all-time outlier because he was immediately elite. I mean, it was just like MVP, Super Bowl. where the other guys kind of had to grind. Herbert, not as he had individual success, but his team wasn't winning, so it was like he was in a tough spot. All these guys, to me, the character for them is just, it's elite. I mean, it just, and to Trey, what we knew about him, and we talked about this when the video went viral from the Colts video, is there were two guys, and they are a huge character team, right? You think Chris Ballard, Frank,
almost maybe to their own detriment. We'll find out as time goes on. Are they talented enough?
100%. But they, like DeForest Buckner to them, we'll give you a 12th pick in the draft or 13th, whatever, all day long. And you know what? They were right because they bet on the person as much as the player. And he was not some like 3-time All-Pro. He was a really good player, like a fringe Pro Bowler, but that was their type guy. And it was Trey Lance and Devontae Smith, who, as I've given the story before, every scout will tell you when you interviewed the two guys that were older, Ruggs and Judy, you said, who's the leader? Thinking that most guys would be like, I'm the dog. They're like, Devontae. Devontae. And last year, Waddle's like, yeah, Devontae was the guy. Like that. But it wasn't like, because they're like, he was just their leader. Like the guy like Gronk or AB or Mike Evans or Edelman would say about Tom. And Trey, when they evaluated him from everyone we talked to and people in the league and people that are around the program, that was him. So you bet on those type people to improve. So to me, the most bullish thing I am with Trey, the mechanics, the accuracy, some things he's a project. You give me the plus character, the plus drive, the plus things that Kyle really values, right? Kyle's like a Ballard. He cares about that stuff. I bet on those guys. So that's why if I had to bet, like I bet on that. Where there are some question marks with some of the other guys. Whether they're like that big a deal or not, but there were some legitimate question marks with Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. Mac, like, just not good enough, talent-wise. And Trevor was the perfect prospect, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mac it's specifically not a high enough ceiling. I also have been thinking about those four quarterbacks. It's funny, we both came to the show today with thoughts on Herbert, Josh Allen, Lamar, and Mahomes. Not just because like the bigger picture, the league's in a good place, but in the context of Trey Lance. And one thing that all five of them have in common, Herbert, Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, and Trey Lance, none of them were the first quarterback taken. Here's a deal on wine, wineaccess.com/ham. $50 off an order of $150 or more.
And if you like to gamble, check out mybookie.ag and use the promo code HAM1. Get your gamble on.
Even though they all have incredible...
Trey was the highest draft of the four of them.
That's right. Of them. Now, he was the third quarterback of his draft, right?
Yeah.
Herbert was the third quarterback of his draft, right? Lamar was the fifth. Mahomes was the second or the third?
Yeah.
I was getting confused. Did Deshaun go ahead of him?
I'm going to look that up right now. Keep talking.
We always have that same conversation. But none of those guys were the first guy taken. Now, part of that is like second. Mahomes was the second. Now, part of that is like, all right, Joe Burrow. All right, Trevor Lawrence. Fine. But what is it? Because there was this conversation about somebody was texting me today about like, how could you miss on Herbert? Like, how could you be wrong about Herbert? Because Herbert possesses extreme physical talent. Like, the other thing with those four guys, they're not exceptional physically. They're extreme. Like, extreme athletes, right? Josh Allen's an elite athlete, period. Not an elite quarterback athlete.
Crazy is Mahomes probably the worst of the five because they're all so elite, right? Lamar's the best. Josh is the second.
Yeah, of
best.
The four,
Trey?
Mahomes, I'm not him and Trey. I'm not sure who's a better athlete. You think Trey Lance is a better athlete than Mahomes?
Running around, it feels a little faster. Yeah, I mean, there's again Mahomes relative to the rest of the league. It's higher end.
But so I started thinking specifically first about Herbert. Like the people who missed on Herbert, why? He was a freak show, like a freak show athlete. Like you saw the arm. He's huge. He's 6'6". He runs.
Wasn't his game-winning play in the Rose Bowl a run?
Yeah. Well, part of it was, I think, with hindsight, how many of these guys remind me if Louisville had NFL receivers?
Devontae
I know Josh
Parker.
Allen.
I think Lamar played with Devontae Parker. I think
Devontae Parker. Herbert. Herbert played with a guy named Juwan Johnson his last year, who's now on the Saints, who's a big guy, had a huge game against SC. One of the things that's hard...
No, Parker's older, excuse me.
One of the things that's hard to project is Like, well, what's it going to be like when he's on the field with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams? What's it going to be like when they got Stephon Diggs? What's it going to be like when you start surrounding Mark Andrews or Tyreek Hill and Kelsey? And like, what's it going to be like?
Hollywood's getting sweet now.
Hollywood. And I do think one of the things, Trey, we've seen this consistently. You don't have to hit everybody in stride all the time. Deebo Samuel specifically is going to be great for Trey Lance. Great. Because you need a guy, I think, that can make plays for you so you don't feel like you have to be perfect all the time.
Right? Wasn't Kelsey do that to Mahomes?
Kelsey does it. I think Kittle will do it. I think it's why you got to get Kittle going in the pass game once he gets healthy. But that's a hard thing to project when a guy doesn't play with NFL talent.
All these guys, Mahomes has Kelsey, Lamar has Mark Andrews, Herbert's 2 wide receivers are basically tight ends, right? The way they play.
And he had Hunter Henry.
Yeah, and he had Hunter Henry. Josh Allen, that Dawson Knox, I think he's an Ole Miss guy, is fucking dominating. This guy on the treadmill who goes to Bills games, diehard Bills fans. I saw him yesterday. He's like, you see that Sunday night game? He's like, how about, he didn't even say Allen. He's like, how about Knox? I think Knox is this guy, and obviously they get Stephon Diggs. So they all benefit from having big size weapons to play with.
I think the thing that really excited us about Trey Lance when we watched his college stuff was like that he did stuff that Kyle would want, right? They ran plays that looked like Niner plays, and he had the ability to. We saw him throw with touch. I saw him throw with touch. I felt like he had it. He was under center sometimes. There was a lot cerebrally, and I think that's one thing. Somebody with the Niners told me after the draft was they believe so strongly in his capacity, in his brain, like who the guy is. In terms of how much information he can take, how much information he can handle. But I think one thing that did really show...
Adam Peters was that confident in it?
I was like, Jed, come on, man. You shouldn't be telling me this. But he clearly, I think, you don't take some of the physical toll that he took in that game. I do think you see competitiveness. And I think one thing that'll happen with him that specifically happened with Herbert, because I don't remember with Josh if this was a thing. Mahomes probably wasn't. Lamar, I don't know. But just because I covered Herbert, it was like, Herbert doesn't talk. Is he a leader? Herbert's quiet. Is he a leader? Trey is obviously not like over the top boisterous yet. And I don't think you need a quarterback to be boisterous. I do think there's a quiet confidence with him that will come out more and more and more the more he plays. But it's something that you have to earn from your teammates. And I think Herbert clearly earned it very quickly because he had to play right away. And he stepped into this situation that was pretty difficult. And remember, you gave him a chance. They almost beat the Chiefs. And I think his teammates started to see like, okay, I think Trey's going to have that opportunity. He did have that opportunity the other day in an adverse situation to just make plays and take hits. And it was like you get credit. I'll finish this part of the point on this. Bad situations are opportunities. Like clean pockets and wide open receivers are great, but you don't prove anything to your teammates necessarily in those circumstances. And less than ideal circumstances are great ways to prove leadership and toughness. And it's the ability to handle yourself and to stay cool, calm, collected, resolute in difficult times is what gets you credit fast, like real credit, not like somebody tweeted something about you, like really get you to the top of a leadership poll quickly. And he has that opportunity. This is why I want him to play, John, is because there is a unique opportunity that they have to give Trey Lance right here to earn that fast that I'd like for them to give him. Just like Herbert had. All these guys had that chance quickly, by the way.
One defining attribute, I think that, the best quarterback ever definitely has this. It's weird when you say this about Tom Brady, but, you worked with Shane Vereen this year, and I know you've talked about Tom with him, and I just think it's clear every time his teammates, whether it be a former teammate in New England or it be a current teammate in Tampa, or just guys that pass through for like a year and the impact he has, humility. And I don't mean humility. It's easy to be humble when you're a rookie, right? No different like your first 6 months on any job. You're just kind of feeling your way out. You're not walking in demanding shit, right, when you're young. But what about once you have success? And I would say humility, knowing the Chiefs guys, I mean, Mahomes if anything, like his family members are like the loud, boisterous ones. People are like, God, I wish everyone needs to calm down, be more like Patrick. Lamar, did you like last night, right when the game opened or finished, and he had the historic night? He never acts like it's about him. He honestly feels sometimes a little Justin Herbert style. He's uncomfortable talking about himself. And Josh Allen, just when you born and raised in Fireball, and you go to Bakersfield Junior College and you go to Wyoming, I'm sorry, you just stay kind of humble. And this goes back to knowing Sean McDermott. Like, they're not into like getting up and pounding your chest. That ain't Sean's style. And humility to me is the defining characteristic of all those guys. It's harder to stay humble as you become big, right? To me, Mahomes, I know he's playing, making some uncharacteristic plays. His body language and the way he plays and just the way you see him interact hasn't changed one iota from when you watched him. That was like first half of his second year, which was technically his like rookie starting season, to the last couple years once he signed the $450 million contract. He conducts himself. I say this a lot. I've never been paid $100 million. If you can act the same, I'm talking the exact same, after you get, most people act different if I gave you like $500K, let alone $50 million, let alone $400 million. It's human nature. But to be able to do that, to me, speaks to the parents, right? All these guys were raised well and coached well and have some special wiring. And that's to me with Trey. He checked all the boxes when they got him. You never truly know until they have some success, because it actually is pretty easy if you're a high-level guy to handle some adversity. You just keep chugging through. You just keep swinging. It is, I think, in these public jobs, once we we see a lot of Mark Cuban and Elon Musk. Like, you just kind of get put on a pedestal the moment you hit a point, right? We see a lot of these star quarterbacks or star shooting guards. Like, they just become American royalty because they're the richest and most famous. And some of them handle it better than others, right? Like Klay Thompson. He's been pretty fucking consistent in his actions. When he was making his rookie contract, that now he's worth $400 million.
And it's something that I think it's easy to fake, but not well. Like, there are enough interviews.
I don't think you can fake it for long, though.
No, there are enough interviews. I've always said this. There are enough examples of what you're supposed to say that anybody that cares to want to say what you're supposed to say can figure out what they're supposed to say, right? Like, if you want to do, and I'm talking like specifically in these circumstances, you can do an interview and just say the right stuff. Like, I think we give way too much credit for that. But I looked up earlier today, again, we were really on the same page today with this, because before we even started talking about it, before the show, I pulled up the lyrics from the pop star. Oh. Not Fort Minor.
No, Fort Minor.
To me, the Humble song from pop star Andy Samberg is one of the greatest fake songs ever written. My apple crumble is by far the most crumblest, but I act like it tastes good out of humbleness. Or I'm sorry, act like it tastes bad out of humbleness. Right. And there's a lot of, like, you can tell when somebody's doing that, right? Like, acting like it tastes bad out of humbleness.
I rented that movie, by the way. It was terrible.
Oh, God, I love that movie. I think it's so entertaining because the music's really good.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
The thing about me is that's so impressive is how infrequently I mention all my successes. None of these guys are faking it. And you know who can sniff it out if you're faking it is your teammates.
Yeah.
Like, that's what matters most. It's not that you trick me. It's, do your teammates, are your teammates all in?
Well, here's an example. Russell Wilson is one of the, not just quarterbacks, one of the greatest athletes I've ever watched since I've been watching professional sports my entire life. He is clearly like he's a religious guy. He doesn't get in any trouble. From all accounts, he's a good dad to Sierra's, the kid that she had a future, and now they have their own children. But there is a feel to him that it's like, is this real? And some of his teammates over the years that you could argue are like too raw and real, right? Just were like, what the fuck is this? And that is, no one's ever been like, what is Lamar's deal, right? You could even just go some random quarterbacks, right? You could be an average guy, but if you're just normal, like Andy Dalton, for example, I've never heard anyone be like, I like Andy Dalton. Some guys he wasn't good enough, but it felt like, people just, if you're just true in your own skin, it's what I respected so much about Dan Campbell's tiers. Like, it feels, Dan, from just his introduction press conference when he talked about biting knees to Sunday afternoon when he cried, he's very comfortable in his own skin. And it's like the Belichick guys, and I'm not saying Russell isn't. I'm just saying, like, he kind of, I think, some teammates, if you just having beers, would probably be a little hit or miss. Or even Peyton Manning over the years. I think a lot of guys be like, he's an asshole. But once you're around him long enough, if you're just consistent, like, Peyton is just, his standards are like Nick Saban. You kind of respect it. You're like, this guy is just, can't turn it off, right?
Yeah.
People love, our buddy Jeff Schwartz, who played with Eli, know some other people that play with Eli. They just thought Eli was just the most down-to-earth. Again, Eli was a hard worker. He demanded on Tuesdays, your off day. If you were a quarterback, you came in to watch film, do the breakdown with him. But people just like, you're just very comfortable in your own skin. And I think ideally you want that guy to just be a normal, humble guy, and it can be difficult. The praise you get, the money you make. But I think those core four guys, Mahomes, Lamar, Herbert, and Allen, and we'll see with Herbert, like, as it keeps going, but it's pretty clear. Like, they're just very comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah, Herbert's ceiling is incredibly high. So is his floor. I think the other thing with all four of those guys, it's easy now to be like, yep, superstars. All four of them have improved. Like, all four of them have taken big steps. Now, it's easy to find people who really believed in Mahomes or really believed in Lamar. It's easiest of that group, I think, to find people who really believed in Herbert. But even then, I would say this, having watched Herbert, I think his touch and accuracy, now he's throwing to bigger receivers, I think it's improved a lot. And I watched him in college, and I think a lot of people that watch him in college go, God, why didn't they make more out of this? How did they not take advantage of this? But this is why you err on the side of a lot of talent, is because there's a lot of room to improve. You want somebody to have room to improve. If somebody is already at their best when you get them, how much room to improve is there? All four of those guys have gotten a lot better. Like, a lot better. And I don't think we talk about any of the four like they're done developing either.
No, well, I mean, they're all like 24, 25, 26.
Yeah. So, but part of that is, let's go. Let's play.
He's got to stay in the game.
Get him on the field. Got to stay healthy. Yep. But you got to get on the field first.